This is Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Assessor, Agency, and Calexico Financing Authority regular meeting, Wednesday, March 17, 2021, and it is 5:30.
Mayor Arreola Fernandez.
Here.
Mayor Protem Moreno.
Here.
Councilmember Ureña is absent. Councilmember Romo.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia is absent. We have a quorum, Mayor.
Okay.
Due to the declaration of emergency, this meeting is being held pursuant to the authorization from the governor's executive orders. Some or all council members may participate in this meeting by teleconference as authorized by Executive Order N-29-20 issued by the Governor of California on March 17, 2020. Until further notice, there will be no public access to city council meetings. However, public participation is available in the following ways. You may watch the meeting live at communityspectrum.org/live at 6:30 p.m. or on the City of Calexico City Hall Facebook page. You may also view the meeting via Zoom at 6:30 p.m. Information regarding the Zoom is available on the city website and on the current city council agenda. Members of the public will be able to make public comments by submitting their public comments by 2 p.m. on Wednesday, March 17 to ggarcia@calexico.ca.gov or via fax at 760-768-2103. These comments will be read aloud during the meeting. Comments can also be made via Zoom by requesting it in Zoom chat. Persons should submit name and section of the agenda they wish to speak on, such as public comments, or state the agenda item number.
Do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am, we don't have any public comments.
Okay, this meeting is being adjourned to closed session, and it is 5:33. Good afternoon. This meeting is being called to order. Regular session of Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Assessor, Calexico Financing Authority. It is 6:37.
Mayor Arreola Fernandez.
Here.
Mayor Protem Moreno.
Here.
Councilmember Ureña.
Here.
Councilmember Romo. Here. Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Okay. Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Mr. Garcia, will you lead?
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mission statement, Mr. Ureña, will you start and lead us?
Sure. Mission statement. Together we pledge to provide effective and efficient services in a courteous and respectful manner, to improve the quality of life for all in our unique border community. Viva Calexico.
Innovation, Mayor Pro Tem, will you lead us with the innovation?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Dear loving Father, thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for your life itself, for the measure of health, and as we fulfill our callings. To work together in a harmony even when there is honest disagreement. I pray for the agenda set before us today. I ask that you give us an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in our beloved city. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Closed session announcement.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council met in closed session on the 3 items described on the agenda, received direction, but no reportable actions were taken. Thank you.
Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the City Council comments and reports being made as item number 12, I'm sorry. Being moved to as item number 12.
Okay,
Second, you made a motion? Second?
okay. So we're going to approve the agenda with moving city council comments being moved to item number 12, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Romo? Yes. Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Ureña?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ponero?
Aye.
Mayor Rola Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, presentation by Mr. Ray Ruben regarding the Assistance Living Facility Project at Holly's Hotel.
Hi, good evening.
At this moment right now, I want to welcome our guest tonight, Mr. Ray Robin. I've had the opportunity to be in partnership working with Mr. Robin for several months now. I am happy to share that we were able to do something that few government entities in the state of California, and I want to put it into perspective, we're able to do under a program that I'll allow Mr. Robin to inform us about. So at this moment, Ray, if you wish, while we provide some of the images of the project that you've taken the lead on, you might want to share with us your experience and what we've been able to do.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. First to start off, definitely this has been, I think probably the word for this whole project has been teamwork. It's definitely a partnership from the very beginning. When I first started to jump into this affordable housing arena, probably 2 years back, it was very confusing, very, very hard to really understand how does a housing unit get created, where does the money come from, how do you even apply for the money, which led me down a road to really try to understand that. I met several different consultants, tried a lot of different things, tried to work through some of the local government agencies like the IVCCC, and really hit just a whole lot of roadblocks and able to get units made. And you know, we kept trying, we kept persevering, and we had a opportunity when this Project Home Key came up to apply for some money, which was specifically to purchase older hotels in cities that wanted to fix those up and create affordable units, actually the lowest level of affordable units, which is the 30% AMI units, which say for like a single person cannot make over $14,700. That's how low you know, of the income level you'd have to be, and the people that are going in here are being charged $367 a month. So it's been great to see the amount of people that have been helped by these. I personally haven't been able to hear everybody's story because I had to hire several people just to take all the phone calls and process all the applications and everything. But it's been great, and it's been extremely hard from the beginning, and to pull something off like this and get 58 units at a 30% AMI is like, you know, somebody throwing the Hail Mary in football and then somebody reaching out and catching it. And I say that with all due respect, but this was a Hail Mary on all parts. It took number one, us getting the CUPs approved for you guys to allow us even to get a shot at it, number one, and that had to happen in a split's notice, and it did. And to be perfectly clear, to follow up with what Miguel was saying there, is that we didn't get awarded this project on the first go around. We were not selected. There was another city in our county that was. And we were not. We were put on the back burner. We were consistently telling them how important this project was to our city, and pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, we did everything that we could to let them know, the urgency of getting these units done. And unfortunately, they didn't consider us on the first go around. What happened is several other counties and other nonprofits and other cities, they came back to the Project Home Key and they said, you know what, we can't meet these deadlines. What we said we could do, we're really trying to figure it out, and it's not possible. There's no way that we can do it. And so the state came back to the city and to us and said, hey, can you guys do this? And what they asked us to do was almost nothing short of impossible. They asked us on December 18th, when we signed our contract, to have all of the money spent by December 30th, and then to have every single unit occupied within 90 days. Now you can see the pictures that are going through here, and for me, that was an easy yes. But most of you guys have not got to know me very well, but I'm the type of person that, if I want something and you throw the parachute out of the airplane, I'm just going to jump out of the airplane and go get the parachute, But not everybody else is willing to jump out of the airplane like that, so for me it was an easy yes, right? But to be able to get the city on board, to be able to get, the fire department, the police department, the planning department, the building department, every department you could think of on board, and then be able to get a construction company that was willing to go up and take this fight with me was unheard of. I was just sharing with the chief police and fire there about how if somebody would have came to my father's company, Duggan's Construction, and said, can you do this? They, outside of it being me, and maybe begging and pleading and everything else under the moon, they would have said, no way, are you on drugs? What are you smoking? Unfortunately, because this is unheard of. If you look at the pictures, we redid the entire alley. So we took the alley all the way down to the water pipe. You're seeing that picture right there. We installed a whole new water pipe in there, and on top of that, stubbed out all the laterals for every house on the other side. So that alley has new pipes. You see the stub ups right there. For every single house that was there or was going to be there, so even like the lots that didn't have houses, we stubbed up laterals for all those. That way, when they go to build their house or their triplex or whatever, they don't have to go cut into all that asphalt and everything there, all ready to rock. You start seeing pictures here where we basically ripped out all the ceilings in every single unit. One thing I would say is this building has had a lot of lipstick and eyeliner to it. If you went in there, we found things that you wouldn't even imagine. Doing it halfway, not doing it the right way, like just kind of putting Band-Aids over things. So we don't do that. We do things to a certain standard, or we just don't do them, So when we went in there, we gutted everything. We put whole new guts in there, water pipes, sewer pipes, fire sprinklers. We put new air conditioners, new fire alarm systems, new telecommunication systems. So it's not like we just went in there and touched up some things and we're throwing people in whatever units that we can get. We completely redid these things to the fullest level, new tubs, new showers, granite countertops, vinyl plank flooring, new carpet. So we didn't just kind of create something like halfway. Even though these are, homeless or very low income people, we did it to like if anybody else, like a normal, any human being was going to live in there, that's the standard to what we did it at, And I was saying, if you would have asked me 30 days into this 90-day project, if I would be standing here today telling you that we're moving every single person in tomorrow and have new leases, I would have probably very much doubted that with all the problems that we run into. I could sit here and tell you every excuse in the book with how lumber prices are going up, how every price is going up, how you can't get materials, how COVID affects the subcontractors on why we shouldn't have finished. But I'm here to tell you today that we did finish, and everybody did their part, from the state to the city to the contractors to the nonprofits helping me out to find the right residents that need these places. We have people coming in from Womanhaven. We have people coming in from Calexico Neighborhood House. We have people coming in from Spread the Love Charity, Catholic charity. I mean, there's, you know, I can't even, the list goes on and on, you know? We have one guy coming in from a tent by University of Phoenix.
Wow.
From Spread the Love charity, and he's super happy. He's got his they helped him get his Social Security and going, so he's got income, and he's just super happy about moving in tomorrow. So
There's one thing here, complementing what Mr. Robin was mentioning. One, this is the first of its kind in Imperial County, and I'm happy to say that within all the obstacles we faced, we have it here in Calexico. Mr. Robin is not lying when he's mentioning that people are going to be occupying tomorrow these rooms. Literally, tomorrow people are going to be moving in. We're not done yet. We want to call this phase one. There's still an opportunity that we're going to pursue to make additional improvements through other programs and opportunities that the state offers. But at the end of the day, what you have here is a success story. That at the end of the day, everybody had to pull in the same direction. I recall being in these chambers and huddling up the department heads that I have here and a couple other staff members. So we could literally all get on the same page and make sure that we all knew our role to get this done.
and that was in early December.
That is correct. So on that, Ray, I mean, I'll leave it up to you if you wish to share anything else. I just wanted to make sure that not only our community but our council members knew really what it took to get this done, some of the things that are happening, where this positions Calexico, and what we can do moving forward.
I think two more points, because I'm rambling about all the cool things in there, but the other real good point is that this is just phase one. We really want this thing to be a forever homeless living facility. You know, we don't want it to just be 2 years and it's gone. So what we're going after now is what's called tax credits. So we needed to fulfill some certain obligations to get these monies so we can make this happen. So the typical low-income housing facility you would do a 4% or a 9% tax credit on that. And so what we're doing is we're going to go after some more funding, specifically the multifamily housing program, along with some tax credit bonds. And we want to spend about another $10 to $15 million and redo the whole outside, which is strip the parking lot all the way down, redo all the landscaping on the sides, outside, everything you could think of to bring that to the standard that we want for the outside. But not that, it's to transform that center part. Right now, we were only able to transform the living units. But I've preached this every time I get up anywhere, that we're not going to solve our homeless crisis without wraparound services. So we have a 10,000 square foot, was a bar, restaurant, all these things in there, and we want to work with our community partners such as, Calexico Health and Wellness, the social services, the behavioral health, and we want to build that out with that money and have that to where the residents there and even other people from Calexico could get health services there, social services there, and really be the prototype for what we're trying to do for homeless services. Honestly, if I'm being upfront with you, there's more home key money now coming out in the next round of the state of California budget, and if it does, I want to do this in El Centro and I want to do it in Brawley. If the other cities can cooperate and we find the right places, we can make it happen. This is the blueprint, this is the model, and what I want for that is the hotel with a little supportive services in it. That way, when you're putting the people there, you're not just putting them there and leaving them there, you're putting them there and you're providing the stuff that they need to go from homeless to housed to, having a career and, stepping into the next, these are SROs. So like you're saying, these are the first SRO affordable housing in all of Imperial County. So this is 58 units. So it's a really, really, really big deal. First time we did it, but definitely not just where we're trying to stop. We're trying to complete and raise money also to put into the bank accounts so you could pay all the bills continuing, because these are not like your normal apartment complex that has normal apartment complex expenses. You have to have a lot more services there, a lot more property management, a lot more security, a lot more of these things. So that I think is important. And then my last point is this. We finished on time, and we did what we said we were going to do. Not just, when I say we, I mean the city, everybody here. So when we go back to the state next time and we ask them for something else we want to do in the city, which we have other projects we want to do here, it means a lot, because like I said, we were not the only project awarded. The other project that was awarded on the first round, and they were supposed, if we would have been awarded on the first round, we would have had 58 people in these units on December 30th, 2020. That was what was obligated to done. That particular project is 4 months behind and still doesn't have anybody in the units. And once again, teamwork. It's because we put together a team that has the city, the contractor, the consultants. It has every single piece in it that glued it all together and makes a miracle happen in 90 days, right? Versus you could have all the wishful thinking if you want, but if you don't have a full team of cohesive people working together with the same vision, you end up 4 months behind telling the state everything you could tell them on why you didn't finish and what's going on in the world. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, I'm happy to ask them, but we're just super excited to bring this project to Calexico and get families in there that can be happy and be off the streets or be out of a shelter or something like that.
I have a question, Mr. Rubin. How many people could you house in each apartment?
We have up to 4 in some of them, but we're very restrictive on that situation. If you're going to have up to 4, it needs to be like a mom, a dad, and 2 small children, because you're very restrictive to how much space you can fit in there. Some of the rooms did have 2 beds when they were hotel rooms, but we're also trying to fit, a little table in there and maybe a little place they could put an electric stove or something like that, because they are SRO units, so they're not studios.
Yes.
But we do have a very small amount of families that we accepted because they really needed it. That was husband, wife, and a couple small children.
Okay, thank you.
Are all the units occupied already?
They will be tomorrow. We almost got our certificate of occupancy today. It's going to be wrapped up in the morning with a couple small things on our list. And we have people moving into the south wing from 10 to 1, and people moving into the north wing from 1 to 3. Another cool thing that I'll mention is that this program did not require that we furnish these units, but I got some money donated from some nonprofits, and we were able to take the furniture out of the hotel, have it stored, and now we're bringing it all back, and we're having to buy some, new bed sheets and stuff like that. But we're actually providing furnished units to them as well, because obviously, like these people that are coming, they're not coming from a house, or they don't have food storage. They have to put a little deposit and the rent, so it's a lot to ask from them. So we went ahead and even in the 90 days, went ahead and got some donations and went ahead and paid for the furniture to go ahead and put in there. So that's cool. They're getting furniture as well.
I do want to acknowledge Mr. Russell Robin, because he stood behind Ray, and again, Ray was the centerpiece, but there's always someone behind, right? And I do want to acknowledge that, because we've got to pay respect where respect is due. I want to thank also my staff members that also stepped up to the plate and were able to get this done. And like I said, I'm just going to wrap up by saying, 1, we built credibility, which is key in the eyes of the state of California. We were able to do that in record time. 2nd, at the end of the day, this is the perfect example of when a real team comes together, that we can actually deliver. And we accomplished that. And Ray, I can't thank you enough for believing in Calexico. I want to make that clear. You believed after we spoke that we could actually get this done. We were able to piece the rest of the team, and the rest is history.
Thank you, Miguel.
Mr. Robin, thank you. Just like a few words. I know you're a busy man. We all know here people live in Calexico for many years. Affordable housing it's not existing in Calexico, let alone adequate and available housing. So having said that, your project is very well welcome. I'm sure the rest of us up here, and you'll
Definitely.
and also you can definitely take that to your team, and certainly looking forward for the next project here in Calexico. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on to City of Calexico FY 21-22 Budget Workshop as presented by Carla Labatos, our Finance Department Director.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the community that are following the meeting. In order to stay true to the commitment that I have made at past city council meetings, along with my staff, we felt it was not only appropriate but a need to bring this presentation to you and the rest of the community. This is actually something that, going back through my notes, we didn't do last year. We were able to accomplish a lot of our milestones of our budget calendar, but I think this is a perfect example of how it is that, being able to have the continuity, we can be more efficient and effective in how we handle our budget process. With that said, what you have here today is what we entitled Fiscal Year 21-22 Budget Workshop. Is going to detail specifically what the budget process entails, the roles and responsibilities of all of us, and Ms. Lovatos, who is our Finance Director, and myself will be walking you through the presentation. We've left, our City Clerk has been kind enough to leave a copy in front of you so you can follow it. The workshop objectives, the objectives of this presentation is, one, at the end of the day, like Councilman Ureña read per the direction of our mayor when we started the meeting, the mission statement. The mission statement, at the end of the day, it's what drives our work to put this budget together. We want to define and have a clear understanding of what a budget is. And don't get me wrong, that may sound a little obvious, but we should never consider anything obvious, especially when it comes to city finances. We've defined a timeline, the roles and responsibilities of our department heads and of the city council, and on top of that, what it entails to close the process. So let's get into it. Councilman Ureña read the mission statement. I think we all know it. We read it and we say it at the beginning of each city council meeting. But the reason that I still believed, and I requested Ms. Lovatos to keep this in the presentation, is because I want to be clear that this is what drives us at an administrative standpoint to carry out our duties also on a day-to-day basis. And most importantly, as part of us putting together the budget. At the end of the day, it's for the well-being of the community, striving to be the best that we can. Carla, maybe you can share with us a little of what it means to have the budget, the actual definition of an operating budget.
Good evening, council members. Our budget, this is, to me, this is what drives what I do every day. But for every department, it does as well. Because this tells us how we bring in our revenues, how we spend our money. And at the end of the day, as Mr. Figueroa mentioned, we are here to follow or live our mission statement. And this is what drives our budget. The definition is the operating budget is the municipality's most important work product. This is what tells us, again, what we can spend money on, what we cannot, what we can do with the resources we have. And this is the legal document. This tells us how many people we can hire, how many FTEs we can have, what we can spend our money. So this is very important, not only for me in finance, but for every single department, for every single fund. And as we go through and walk through this workshop, we will go into the definition of each and every single fund that we have here at the city. Our most important one is our general fund, but we have other funds that also drive our budget. So
one of the things that Ms. Lovatos just mentioned, which is key, that I want to point out, is the fact how this is a comparative tool. This can actually measure our performance as a city compared to previous years. And again, sometimes we're always seeking and trying to determine how we are doing, how we're performing as a city. This is a way that we can measure that. This is a way in which we can do comparisons and see if we actually delivered on your priorities and your policies that you shared with us that you wanted us to implement on the operational side. So again, this rhetoric is important for all of us to understand, especially now in Calexico, where, as we know, recent history has not been the best when it comes to our finances, but it also can share the story and measure the work that we've done currently in this administration and in other ones, so we can see if progress has been made.
And now to complement what Mr. Figueroa was saying, not only internally, this is a measure for us to, this is something to measure us with, but also the state and all other agencies measure us based on our budget and how we're measuring against our budget. So this is important not only for us, but also for other agencies. This is how they look at us, whether we're meeting our budget or we're not.
On this slide, Ms. Lovatos, it's obviously that there's an importance as to why we need a balanced budget. A perfect example that I can give you guys is how this city council, not too long ago, was able to accomplish this as part of our quarterly reports. Given that we are experiencing a financial hit because of COVID-19, we were able to present recommendations, suggestions to this body, and this body made the determination as to how we could balance our budget mid-year, given the fiscal issues that we were affected by because of the pandemic. That's why it's not important to come to June 30th seeing if a budget is balanced. We need to be proactive and do it throughout the year constantly to make sure that we're going to make it the way we expect at the end of the fiscal year. There is one thing here that does point out, and that's bullet number 3 in this slide, that particularly reflects on the reserves. This is obviously something that our city has not been privy to in recent times, but then again, that's what drives us, because we need to make sure that as a city, we have the reserves. Why? Because we know that at some point in time, we may run into another fiscal crisis just like the one the pandemic posed on us. So having some reserves can alleviate the fiscal impact that we may encounter in the future. Ms. Lovatos, specifically per the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, which we follow very closely and for which you're a member as well, what is the recommended reserve for a municipality?
The recommended reserve is between 5 and 10%. Anything above 10% is excellent, but a good average would be an 8%. So that's why we're listing between 5 and 10. Right now, I think we have reserves of, I'm going to say about a 6%. That's where we are right now as the year end, and we'll be presenting our audited financial statements very soon, so you'll get to see that. But that's where we're at, and ideally we'd like to be at a 10%, but you know, and that, as Mr. Figueroa mentioned, this is going to help us if we were to have a fiscal crisis like what we're going through right now. We would have reserves to support the city during those times.
And something that I do want to be clear on is, depending on your geographic location, you have different industries that drive your local economy, right? So for example, we know of a lot of cities in Riverside County that had 25, 35% reserves. But because they have a very volatile economy in which certain industries that we don't have here in Imperial County are the ones that thrive over there. So they may have had depleted their reserves, but there's a good chance that in a very short window of time, they're going to recoup that. The reason I give that example is, let's focus on ourselves here in Imperial County, that we're dependent here in Calexico of the border crossings. We've been hit now for a year on the restrictions, and we now have been able to present to the community and to the council the fiscal impacts that has represented. So with that said, again, but also at the same token, we've been able to keep our budget balanced for the time being. One of the biggest things that this body already heard and took action on was actually approving a budget calendar. These two slides are pretty much a summary of what we presented and what this governing body approved. And to this day, I want to say that we're on track. And we always need to be ambitious enough to improve the budget calendar from the previous year. Like I said when I started this presentation, we're accomplishing that this year by being able to present this workshop to you today. Ms. Lovatos, do you care to share with us a little on the roles and responsibilities of the departments?
Sure. It is the city manager's responsibility to develop policy guidelines, goals, and objectives for all the departments. The city manager also ensures that the adopted budget is properly administered. Now, finance, that's where we come in, and we are in the stages of planning, design, and we design effective models. We periodically review the budget. This is what we do on a day-to-day. We're always looking at the budget and trying to be, and we're all fiscally responsible. We are maintaining our city, and it is, even at this point, with the pandemic being for over a year, we still haven't had any layoffs. We've been very responsible. We've been keeping track of our expenditures, and we're staying on track. Now, every department head, directors, or managers are responsible for their own budget, and they're responsible for recommending and explaining needs and opportunities within their departments. They're responsible for providing the plan and approved service level within the budget, and therefore the day-to-day activity within their departments.
On that note in particular, I do want to point out, Ms. Lovatos can do her part in giving instructions, in providing all the needed paperwork that departments need, but it also takes the departments to do their part. The departments can either help us stay on track or possibly delay the budget calendar that I referenced. Well, I am very proud as a city manager to say that my department heads have done a very good job this year in staying on track, submitting their budget worksheets on time, which at the end of the day allows the finance department to continue through the process. Again, it goes back to what we discussed with the previous presenter. It's a team effort. If everybody pulls in the same direction, we can get things done. This is another prime example. This is something, obviously, that moving on in the presentation here, something that it's important for us here in Calexico to make sure that we revisit, because historically, the recent past of Calexico, in recent years, one of the biggest problems we've had financially is because we've had a depleted general fund. Not only a depleted general fund, but a negative balanced general fund, which was, as we recall in previous years, one of the biggest issues for which some extraordinary measures had to be taken so we can continue operations. So at this point right now, our general fund, as we know, is the bread and butter that we work with on a daily basis. As you can see, the majority of all the operational departments fall under the general fund. The majority of our employees fall under the general fund. And that includes at-will employees too. I want to make that distinction. Even at-will employees depend on the general fund. One of the items that we need to make sure that we identify, so how do we feed the general fund so it can be healthy? So there are specific revenues that are outlined here. And the majority of them, like a local government entity, meaning a municipality, depend on taxes. Sales tax being the number one tax that drives our general fund. And there you can see the other taxes, the property tax, the business license, which is one of the sources of general fund revenues, as well as other taxes, other types of program income that we collect through the different departments, through different monies that they secure through the state of California, through the federal government. One of the biggest things that I do want to point out is, like I mentioned, the expenditures that come out of the general fund represent the majority of our expenditure budget. So that's something that we need to keep an eye on. Moving forward on the operating grant funds, Ms. Lovatos, do you care to touch on that, please?
Operating grant funds. As Mr. Figueroa mentioned, general fund is our main fund. That's where most of our salaries are paid, most of our expenditures get through in our program revenues. We still have some grant funds, and we have like library funds, grants, community donations, we have gas tax, asset forfeiture. Both our police and fire department benefit from these grant funds. So we have several funds. These are not as large. I don't want to say as important. They are important because they do cover some of our expenditures. We have county grants, we have state grants for the library, police, fire. They all benefit from these grant funds. So they are, and we are required to keep them separate. They are not to be commingled. They are for specific purposes, and that's how they're tracked. Each one of these funds tracks their revenues and their expenditures separate from any other fund. So they're very specific, and that's how they're kept. They're restricted. We are not to use the money. Let's say if we have a donation, and this donation is for something very specific, that's how it's spent. So revenues and expenditures are tracked separate, and they're used for the purpose that it was intended for.
Moving forward on the housing funds, I particularly have a lot of anecdotal information to share, because when I was hired in September of 2017 by the city of Calexico, one of my first tasks that I was given by the city manager at the time was to address our housing program in Calexico. Historically, Calexico not only has the demographics, but the economics to constantly be eligible to receive the housing funds that the state of California issues, specifically through the Housing and Community Development Department. From there, you have different programs like the home program, like the Community Development Block Grant Program, what we know as the CDBG, first-time home buyer, which is one of the biggest programs here in the city, along with home rehabilitation, another of the top programs that we implement here in Calexico. So one of the problems that I had when I came in was that we had one balance for the program in the finance department. We had a different balance in the community and economic development department, and the state of California had a different balance. So as you can understand, it was impossible to operate a program where the numbers didn't add up. One of the first things that I had to do was take a step back, go back 9 years, and make sure that we did an assessment to see how our ending balances could match, so we could not only be removed from a blacklist by the state of California, but also be eligible to once again apply for these programs which our community needs, but also at the same time be able to use a lot of the program income, because that's the key, and that's something that I want to point out. One of the biggest opportunities that stem from these programs is that we as a city can use the program income to reinvest it in some of the community needs that we have. So you had the perfect storm in which we could not do nothing because we were not operating the program the right way. I'll fast forward, we were able to get it up and running again within a 9-month period. It took us 9 months, but we worked hand in hand with HCD. We worked hand in hand within the city to make sure that we cleared that out. And I also want to give special kudos to a consultant that assisted us to make this happen. So with all that said, right now, we are positioned to not only apply for these monies, we not only applied, but we already were awarded. We already were awarded a new home grant. And that was about 1.5 years ago, just before COVID hit. Right now, that program will come back to life as soon as we get the restriction lifted, which is a statewide restriction, so we can implement that program. One of the good problems I want to say that we have is that we have money to spend. There's a certain criteria that HCD puts out depending on where the PI is coming from, the program income, so we can use that money as a city to again invest it in our community. So with that said, Carla, myself, and the state work together to determine what projects are eligible so we can use the program income on. So that is a good problem to have, because we have monies that also accumulated that we can reinvest and use per the eligible and allowed expenses that the state determines. On the capital improvement side, one of the biggest things that I think this council has seen since December 10th when this council took office, is the fact that whenever we talk about the Public Works Department, we always talk about our capital improvement program. Why? Because like I've said multiple times, we have significant amount of money there that has to be reinvested in our capital infrastructure in the city, right? And that's something that we are proud to say that we not only have began to do dating back a couple of years ago, but that we're continuing to implement. This is something that's spearheaded by Lily Falomir, who happens to be our Administrative Public Works Manager, in conjunction with the Finance Department, so we make sure that the capital improvement program is actually happening and getting done. On this slide, Carla, do you mind sharing with us a little bit more on the enterprise fund and the distinction from the general fund, please?
Absolutely. Our enterprise fund, it's comprised of our water operating fund, our water debt service fund, development impact fees, wastewater, and airport. These are, and I'll say it again, these are restricted funds that cannot be used for anything else except to reinvest in these same programs. So let's say your water operating fund, if it has any excess funds, they'll get transferred to a capital improvement fund for water and be reinvested in our community. We have, as Mr. Figueroa mentioned, we have a very, I guess, a large capital improvement project for program for water and wastewater plants. That's about a 60 million, when our total capital improvement program, it's about 85 million. So we're talking about a good 80% that will be reinvested on our water and wastewater funds. We also have our airport that falls under our enterprise fund, where we also have capital projects. So all of these funds, again, are very restricted. We charge a fee for service, and the money that is there is to be reinvested in the same funds. It's not like our general fund where we can move around between departments or within accounts. This doesn't work that way. This is very restricted, and there are very specific rules that guide these enterprise funds. This is not only for Calexico, this is for any city in our state.
With that said, at some of the recent city council meetings, as you've noticed and as our community has noticed, when it comes to some of these infrastructure projects that we bring for your consideration, when you see the fiscal impact, we are very careful to define where that money will come from, right? That leads me to this slide. We have here in Calexico, we have community facility districts. And depending on the location of those districts, some of the proceeds that are collected from those districts are intended to be used to do some type of predetermined improvement to that particular area. And CFDs are very clear in their definition what they can pay for and what they cannot pay for. Here in Calexico, we have the CFDs that are listed here on the slide. We recently had a discussion here about a particular item pertaining to Adrian C. Cordova Park, where there's a CFD tied to that project, as an example of some of the other ones that we have here in Calexico.
Just one thing on the CFDs, we do have outside consultants that levy these CFDs. So what we do is we provide them with the list of all the APNs, all the lot numbers that belong to that CFD, and we have an outside consultant levying this and they give us a list of definitions or expenditures that we can spend this money on. So this is not just us as the city deciding how we're going to spend the money. These CFDs were created with the intention of doing certain or allowing for certain expenditures, and that's how the money is used, and this is how it's levied. It goes to the county, and the county puts it on the tax roll.
Thank you, Ms. Lovatos. And the final slide that I have here for you folks specifically relates to our self-insurance programs here in the city. In other words, we reference them as internal service funds, which are part of our budget. Specifically here in Calexico, we have 5 programs. And I'll let Carla get into the specifics, but basically these programs assist current employees, retired employees, and the general liability that we have as a city. One of the things that I always tell staff members that retire is, you always need to make sure that you hold your city accountable. Why? Because if you put in 35 years, 30 years, Bobby Ortiz just put in 42 years of service to Calexico. One of the things that I want, and I remind them all the time, is not just because you're retired, it ends there. The city still is responsible to make sure that they have a sound fiscal operation so your retirement is not affected. And that's always something that if at some point some of the newer generation staff members that I have is, hopefully they stay here for 30 years and they retire from the city of Calexico. But if they don't, if they accumulated 5, 10, 15 years, they're going to take that with them. And it's going to be our obligation to do our part as a city, as an employer, and whenever they retire, to do our part and commit our monies to it. Carla, do you mind sharing specifically the programs, please?
These programs are basically, we're our own insurance company, so we provide our own health insurance or workers' comp, and unemployment insurance and general liability. So we pay for every expenditure that happens for any of our employees or for any city property. We are our own insurance company, so everything comes out of our own funds. So it's not like we have another insurance company that pays for this. We are paying for this as a city.
So there is...
These are tracked separately. Again, these are restricted funds, so we track them separately, and we fund each one of these funds. So we have reserves. When I started here, we had absolutely no reserves on any of our ISFs. Right now, we stand at about an 8% reserves. So we're funding, and we have a little extra in case we would have some unexpected expenses.
So this is where you folks, as a city council right now, are going to have to make some of the decisions that are going to take us up a notch when it comes to our operations. And what do I mean by that? For the reasons that I alluded to at the beginning of the presentation, we were forced to be self-insured. We had no choice. We had no choice. It was that or not being insured, so we had to do it. With the track record that we've built over the past 4 years, as it pertains to our audits, as it pertains to the assessments that the fiscal agents of the state of California do on us, we are getting very close to once again being a partner that other members of insurance pools want to bring in. So it's very important that we continue on this track, because if we're able to once again join an insurance pool, we're going to be saving obviously some money. Not only are we going to be saving money, but everybody else in the pool will save money, obviously, because now we're going to be one more in the whole pool. Actually, I started having this conversation in Long Beach in 2019 at the last League of Cities that we attended with other jurisdictions that obviously would benefit outside, and I want to be clear, outside of Imperial County, in other words, with other insurance pool members, where they actually welcome new members because savings occur. So I do want to say that we're almost there. We're almost there. This doesn't happen overnight. We need to build that track record. We're on course to get that done. But more than likely, just given the terms for which this city council has been elected to, we're going to be having that conversation at some point, which at the end of the day, it's going to be a benefit, I feel, to our city finances. With that in mind, that concludes our presentation. If you folks have any questions or comments, we'll be happy to address them.
Any comments? Does anybody have any comments for
Yeah,
No?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Mr. Garcia?
Yeah.
Mrs. Labato?
But thank you both for the presentation. I think it has been very informative, very enlightening, and very positive. And with that also, yes, for sure, it's day and night, from a few years ago until now, as far as finances. One of the things that I would like to continue to go on this trend, and for sakes of transparency and accountability, which is also built into this process, I would like to also, as we continue with a strategic plan, when we get to the portion where we bring our community members to participate, if we can share all of this, and if we can get also their feedback, I think that's really important, that we include their opinions, their suggestions, and most of all, to make sure that they also understand, what this means. I know that, sometimes we don't know the difference between, the different funds, the different ways that we can spend or not spend, and what is tied to all those, funding sources too. So just make sure that, little by little, we understand what we're working with right here. And also, with that, we can probably accomplish other things, such as, I just don't want to hear, or I don't like to hear that we have had monies sitting there in any type of funding, and it's not your fault, or it's not nobody's fault, and that we have to be working last minute, or or because it has been so many years, sitting there, now we have to spend it. So I think if we ask the community to provide feedback, I mean, before that also, actually, we can also engage the commissions. I think if we also delegate, or delegate and ask them for their feedback, to contribute to this process, whether it's economic and finance, bid, you name it. We were looking at, or you were going over the CFDs. So let's look at those monies, what's there. Let's talk to those neighbors that are in those subdivisions that are contributing to this fund. Let's see what their needs are, and let's put that money to work and improve, their whether it's gutters or lighting, whatever is permitted to for the funding to be used. So I think we can actually make a difference. And again, the money is there for certain things. Let's not get confused that the city it's financially well off in all the areas, but they're restricted for specific purposes. We just want to make sure that that we understand that also. So that's what I want to see. That's where I'm asking. Community input through commissions, through strategic planning sessions, where we get the input. So that will be the next step that I would suggest.
Absolutely, Councilman Garcia. We made a note of your points.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I say something? Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Garcia, for those words. I agree with that. And on that note, allocating scarce community resources across a wide range of public need is one of the most important responsibilities we have as City Council. I think we can all agree on that, especially because this is other people's money. It's our community's money that we are entrusted with to use in a way that provides for the common good. So, as a governing board, we must ensure that the budget that we're putting together meets our community needs, above all. Thank you. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mrs. Labato.
And thank you all for the great
Great.
presentation. And I know this was a team effort. So kudos to all.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All staff. Thank you. Okay, we have Mr. Gonzalez from the IID Director.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council, staff. Thank you for inviting me, City Manager. I'd like to very briefly, give a report. Tomorrow will be my 100th day that the people of Division 4 entrusted me. I'll remove it for a while because it bothers me a little bit. They entrusted me, and I made some commitments. I made some commitments to fix up several community issues, several community problems. Some of them are not related to IID, but like I said during my campaign, every elected official is responsible for a safe, healthy community and a great environment. We need to work together. I think we're doing that. I just want to let the people know that thank you for entrusting me. 100 days I've been focused on the community issues. Yes, IID is very complex, very big. There's a lot of projects. We're studying them. We need to study each and single one of them, the Imperial Dam, Salton Sea. But I focused my first 100 days on fixing up Calexico. The issues that I brought up was first that what I call the Welcome to Calexico IID site, the one that was right behind Toys R Us. Been graffiti for 12 years. It was removed. We're hoping that they put, they're going to do a campaign for DP Duck. We're hoping that they put one there because they're going to put throughout the canals DP Duck signs. They have a very, very good signs, but they're geared to adults. So we propose that they include children that usually walk the canals with DP Duck. Our street lighting, they're all being reported. I want to thank Lily and the staff. You know, I've been working very close hand with Mr. Solano, Mr. Saldana, Lily, city manager. They've all been reported. If you see some of them that are not fixed, it's because there's underground problems, and that is the city's responsibility. I think the city's working to hire an electrician. But we're gonna do that again in July. I'll start different areas reporting in July. It'll be easier because we'll have less broken street lights. And we'll keep doing it every 6 months, and it'll be easier every time. The American Canal, all the fence has been fixed. Yet last weekend we found 3 new holes. I don't know if you know, yesterday it was the Border Patrol chasing like 15 illegal aliens in Kennedy Gardens. I think they came to the canal. So we're fixing that. That's something we brought to you guys. There's a contract signed by Mayor Dr. Kathy Jennings, where it makes the city responsible for that, for the fixing of the fence. And I did mention it that you guys should bring it back up. I think the IID should be responsible. For now, it's us, the neighbors, fixing the holes. And me personally, you know, I committed myself to that. All the debris inside the canal has been cleaned. I think they took out like 16 shopping carts, a lot of poles, especially where that kid drowned. I'm pretty sure he hit something when he went down there. The old fences were in the canal, all being fixed. The beach canal, we're glad that yesterday was in closed session. It's moving along. We can't speak about that. We're thankful for the IID. They've been very supportive. The IID board of directors, it's moving forward. It'll be brought again during the next time. We're looking for the cheapest and best way. With that issue, I think some neighbors brought up the issue of Cloak, the bridge that doesn't have any fencing. They've approved it. Those things don't go through the board because it's the responsibility of the water department to do that. All you need to do is give a call to the manager and explain the situation, and I think they agreed. The other thing was the water retention. That was a city project, but we worked with Mr. Figueroa. He talked to the water manager. The water manager said any equipment that you need, it's available. And I think that they did fix it. Mr. Saldana gave us a report that some water was going in, and they put some kind of, the other one, Rancho Frontera, they're going to put 5 lights. And I think one of the appointees to our water board, Mr. Jimmy Abadi, is going to help clean it up. One, it's all dry. It's still very muddy. But I don't think water is going in there. I think IID employees have been very supportive of helping Calexico, whether it's the troubleshooters or the guys fixing the underground wastewater, you know, the reservoir for the canals. What other things? We got appointed to 3 boards. It's the Southern Border Commission. They haven't met. The last 2 meetings were canceled. We're meeting tomorrow. I'm hoping to bring several issues. One of them, it's the Calexico needs a substation. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we need to bring it up with all our representatives of Calexico, whether it's private, public. I'll bring it up. The other issue I'm gonna bring up, and I promised I committed myself, I never made promises to the people of the Bertuzzi's 101 Bernardo trailer parks. 85% of their streetlights are off. And some neighbors, even are putting their own lighting outside from their own. It's very dangerous. We need to fix that, but that is a city and Imperial County problem. We're going to bring it up tomorrow. Future projects, I want to paint, I want IID, and all utility companies should paint their utility boxes. They're all messed up. I don't know why the city painted everything green. Every utility box got painted green, and every utility box has their own color. We've asked IID to paint theirs, which is Army green, but we got a group that wants to paint murals on those big boxes. That's something that we want to bring murals, some beautiful murals, at least in the Kennedy Gardens area, because we have a lot, and I've seen a lot throughout. But we should ask every utility company to paint their utility boxes. You see telephone boxes that they're like this, some are open. We need to hold them responsible. We need to hold them responsible. The other project is I want to focus on IID starting their own trimming company. They're not hiring, they're not contracted, they're having their own crews. I think they're in training right now. I'm going to start, there's a lot of people calling that, their trees are hitting IID lines. So I'm going to start focusing on that. IID is going to make the decision if it's under, if it's their jurisdiction to cut, because, there's a lot of trees a lot of poles that run behind houses. So IID is going to start their own trimming company. And with that said, I'm going to focus more on IID issues. I want to work with Campesinos Unidos. I think IID should start a home weatherization program. A lot of other utility companies have it. IID doesn't have that, where we help out. Campesinos Unidos used to do it and maybe get grants from state and federal, but there's a lot of houses here from farm workers that are in very bad conditions. Very bad conditions. I think IID should help. Trees, other agencies give out free trees to residents. I think IID should do that. We're going to focus on that. Another commitment was for my senior citizens, start neighborhood watch on all senior citizens. This is not IID property, it's the responsibility of me representing the seniors. I think that every senior housing should have their own senior citizens program. With that, it's not only crime prevention, it's socializing. They can start their own dances, little groups, all this stuff. I think it will be very helpful for them. That's something that I talked to them when I ran in my campaign. So I just wanted to let you know my 100 days are done. I focus, most other things are done. There's a lot more things to work, and I want to thank the city of Calexico, Mr. Miguel Figueroa, who have been attending our neighborhood watch meetings. The other thing I mentioned, I'm also appointed to the Transportation Commission. They canceled their meeting in February, and I got a presentation from BASA regarding what the Transportation Commission consists of. One of the things that I noticed is we need to help our local transportation commission. Every company in the country gets funding. Calexico Transportation has never gotten funding. We need to help them. No matter who the owner is, it's transportation. Before COVID, they used to pull $20,000 a month. Not even the county does it in 6 months, and they do it. They never got any support. But before, the commission cannot help them if it doesn't come from you. The city needs to request it. You guys need to help that company. A lot of people could criticize it because of the old trucks. Old buses, that is not their fault. It's our fault. It's our fault for not helping them, for not asking for funding for them. They'll never get government funding by themselves. It needs to come from the city. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be pushing at the Transportation Commission, but the request needs to come from the city. So that's my 100 days report. I thank Miguel, I thank Lily and her staff, and we're going to continue to work together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez, a couple of questions. Where do we stand on the delinquency accounts? Do you have any?
Oh, yes, they gave a report. They gave a report, and it's working magically. I think they went down. I don't know if you saw it in public, but they gave a closed session. I won't talk about the closed session. I think like 40% of them have already come to an agreement. Everybody's coming for an agreement. We just needed to do that. We just needed to implement a program, and I think a lot of people are coming forward, and it's looking good.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're shutting anybody's electricity yet.
And I asked because I know that Calexico had a high number of, delinquent accounts, excuse me. So just kind of like wanted to get an update on that. And then also, I read about some issues maybe with energy for the summer availability,
No, what they're doing is they're trying to get ready.
Okay.
To be ready for if we need more energy, we're going to have it stored and ready, and to be ready to propose some plant shutdowns, and what time will be the best time to do that. And those are the things they're preparing because during the summer there's times where the load is very bad, and to prevent those kind of blackouts at any time, they're gonna plan them. I think where the least amount of energy is required during the morning, I think, and then do those so they can save energy somewhere else. I think that's what they're trying to do. It's a 21 summer readiness program.
Okay.
We're still working on it. They're still bringing up, but I think that's the mission, to not get unexpected blackouts, and to do planned blackouts during the morning or during the least when the least
Yeah.
amount of energy is required.
Yeah.
But in Calexico we need a substation very bad.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I'm going to bring up to the Southern Border Commission and get everybody involved.
Yeah. Well, and then also, I just want to make sure that you carry this message that, our energy is one of the most affordable rates, and that's actually one of the key components when it comes to promoting our area, for economic development or investment, where we can say that we have one of the most affordable rates, aside from land and water availability. So again, that will be something that personally I will ask you to continue to advocate to keep those rates.
Regarding the rates, if you saw yesterday, we had the employees do a protest somewhere when we had a meeting. And like I tell them, we need to look at both sides. I mean, if we give a raise, if we don't have enough money, then the energy, our energy rates are going to go up. So it's something that we need to work. It's sometimes you gotta do decisions that are not, that are not easy. But yeah, one of my main concerns is don't have enough money that the rates won't go up. There's a lot of pressure from the union. There's a lot of projects and everything, but everything that you do, it's going to impact the rates. The rates, and right now it looks pretty nice. I mean, people are paying up. I don't think they're cutting anybody's energy. Even if you just go there and answer the phone, I think they're working with you. But at least answer the phone or answer the call.
Thank you.
Thank you. Loreña.
Dos cositas. La primera, lo que usted dice de la transportación, what you were saying about transportation is 100% key, clave. A lot of people sometimes don't see that behind a housing crisis, or at least a housing crisis, can be solved with a transportation crisis. Because why do you live anywhere? You have good access to transportation, it doesn't matter where you live, right? Transportation can build a bridge in a housing crisis.
And with that, we brought the issue to Mr. Baza that are bus stops. They're inadequate. During the summer, there's people waiting on the back, hiding from the sun. They don't work. There's mom. If you go where there are people hiding behind it in the summer, we need to get rid of those or plant trees, something there.
Exactly.
But yeah, you know what? In the past, it was because of who owned the company. It doesn't matter who owned it. We need to have a top-notch local transportation company. And I think the funds are there, but the request has to come from you guys.
I agree. Y la segunda cosa de home weatherization. From here on out, I think one thing that the city can do is be proactive about when new developers come in, to make sure that when they build the houses, that the weatherization or the design is appropriate for the region that we live.
And especially you, Mr. Arena, maybe you know other entities, non-profit that want to work. I know Campesino had a great program, and it's not just IID. Everybody pitches in, and we get federal funds. But I've been to a lot of houses, and they're falling apart.
Sí.
They're falling apart. And even my house with my mom, you can see through the bottom, you can see the light. That means when your AC is on, it's a lot of energy is escaping. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Moving forward to announcements.
These proceedings may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the City Council meeting. Community office hours with Mayor Aurora Fernandez will be held on the fourth Tuesday of the month from 2 to 4 p.m. Please contact the City Clerk's office at 760-768-2102 for an appointment.
Public comments?
We do have several public comments,
We
Mayor.
have public comments?
I have a public comment from Mr. Javier Lopez. He submitted it on March 2nd for the March 3rd meeting. However, this is being transferred until today. Mayor Rosie Fernandez, Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno, Council Members Ureña, Romo, and Camilo Garcia. He is writing regarding vendors on public city streets. How are you? I wish you good health. I am reaching out to you because I have an ongoing problem since in or about 2019. Or even before that date. I am referring to used cars being sold directly in front of my home, located at 1101 Holdridge Street, corner of Andrade Avenue. I used to have 2 or 3 cars on the both sides of the street, Holdridge, with for sale signs. The situation has become dangerous for people that live on Holdridge and persons that have driven on these streets. The adjacent streets do not have 4 corner stop signs that makes drivers come to Holdridge Street, so that they will get into the flow of traffic on Andrade in a faster and more efficient way. This, of course, causes the street to get congested with vehicles in which, at the same time, you have cars for sale in this precise location. One glowing problem, apart from the traffic congestion, is the drivers that come to see cars for sale will stop mid-street to copy down the phone numbers and for the sale on the for sale signs posted on them. This definitely creates a real hazard and backs up traffic on Holdridge and Andrade. Potential buyers will walk up to my door and knock at all times to ask about the cars. This is very annoying to say the least. I don't blame them though, because they are in front of my house. Trash is also a problem. I have picked up beer bottles, soda cans, cigarette butts, candy wrappers, and just miscellaneous trash. This is also very annoying. In my opinion, this violates City Code 5.92.010, which prohibits soliciting upon public property. Also, I know some of the City Council members remember that a few years ago there was an effort to install a public bathroom on the west side of my house with a bus stop. Fortunately, this did not happen. I have noticed the sign on the adjacent street, Sapphire, says, "Parking for vehicles restricted. Vehicles will be towed at owner's expense. CVC 22658. This street does not have a 4-way stop sign. I have already in the past week contacted the police department and have sent written complaints to the city manager and Mayra Soto Code Enforcement. Please let me know if you can solve this problem by enforcing the City Code 5.92.010 or simply posting a sign that prohibits vendors from selling their cars in the public streets. This would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time, Javier Lopez." Mr. Lopez also sent several pictures of the cars in front of his home.
Okay.
I can provide. This message is also for the March 3rd meeting. It's from Mr. Aldo Ley. I know that my concerns will be ignored. Every time a concerned citizen speaks up against what is wrong with this city, it is brushed off by individuals who decide that it's best instead of asking the citizens they serve. Farm workers and the citizens of Calexico have asked for change, but every time it is denied by a city council where the majority is only working for their own self-interest. What is the point of having a city council if they are not represented? How can you deny a human being the right to bare necessities like restrooms? I hope that next time the decision is made, you will at least go out and walk to those people who will impact, not just those who you call friends. Step out of your comfort zone and see yourself what life is really like in downtown Calexico. Thank you to Council Members Raul and Gloria, who do put in the effort of knowing the city they work with. Attention, a concerned citizen of Calexico, Mr. Aldo Ley. This message was also from the February 17 meeting that was carried over several meetings, from Mr. Ismael Arbizo. Hello, Council. I have been supporting the Campesino camp on First Street in Andrade. There are multiple people working and sleeping there for the night. Rosie and Camilo, I hope you did your homework and saw the camps. There were and still are thousands of people who are wasting their lives standing in a pointless line or sleeping in the freezing windy nights while you both just ignored the news coverage. Ignorance is bliss, I know, but look at the history, and campesinos benefit from these camps, centers to help them on their day-to-day transit, especially during the pandemic. I urge you to invest and look into talk to those that are there. You will understand how tough and draining it is to live in a city that doesn't even have public restrooms. It's an embarrassment to have the council sit for months without even caring about those who need those necessities. I dare every single one of y'all to go and try to be outside downtown all day, then tell me how you disposed of your waste. I even heard stories of police officers threatening to giving a ticket for peeing in the alley, but backing out after the campesino called him out for the injustice. These people have sent the valley's biggest enterprise to the global market they have. They can't even go to the restroom because of the horrible management done by you all. Shame on you if you oppose help for essential worker. The shelter that is open is trash and abuses of the few bucks they get a day. Calexico needs change. Dear Council and residents of Calexico, I am a longtime citizen of Calexico. I am, however, taken back from what I have been seeing and hearing from Mr. Raul Ureña, especially of the many letters that have been submitted to the city in his support. I believe that Mr. Ureña is the writer of the letters that have been submitted during the council meeting, including falsify the authors of the letters willfully. The wording and grammar of letters that have been read are quite similar in context to grammar to Mr. Ureña's writings. What this means is that Mr. Ureña has deliberately skewed for his own gain and falsified letters to support his own views. What is wrong? Unfortunately, there is no way of proving this. However, time and time again, the grammar, context, and content is quite revealing. It is Mr. Ureña's writings. This must stop. Also, during each council member meeting, Mr. Ureña has demonstrated to be unprofessional and disrespectful to the mayor and council members. This has left bad taste and has been an embarrassment to the city of Calexico. This must stop. Respectfully, Jorge R. Garcia. This is also a letter from Javier Gonzalez from March 1, 2021. Honorable Mayor, City Council, staff, and general public, Kennedy Gardens National Neighborhood Watch number 292417 has been meeting with Calexico City Manager Miguel Figueroa for several months now. We thank Miguel for taking the time to join us in our quarterly neighborhood meetings. Among three subjects we are working on are street bumps, parking, street lighting, and abandoned lots. Kennedy Gardens residents have signed a letter directed to former city manager David Dale and former mayor Luis Pacheco, where we ask and request that both abandoned areas on C.N. Perry Avenue at Kennedy Gardens be permanently closed and the property be given encroachment to surrounding residents. This empty and abandoned blighted lots are an eyesore in the community and are used by homeless and others for vagrancy, causing concern among residents. City Manager Miguel Figueroa and Mayor Pro Tem Javier Moreno are aware of the areas and the issues we're referring to. We ask that you please see that these matters are worked on for the betterment of the community's safety. This also includes the abandoned blighted area behind Alejandro Rivera Senior Citizens Complex, an area that was planned to be a park area for senior citizens to plant community gardens. Again, thank you for your attention in this matter. Sincerely, Javier Gonzalez, Kennedy Gardens, National Neighborhood Watch Captain, 292417. This is all the public comments that I have.
Thank you. Moving on to city manager's report.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the community. Yesterday, Ms. Esperanza Colio, Deputy County CEO for the County of Imperial, provided every city in the county an informational email in which she informed us that the County of Imperial has been allocated $13 million, $13 million, as what's been come to known as the California COVID-19 Rent Relief Program. This is fantastic news. I want to thank our recreation department that has uploaded the English and Spanish flyers to our Facebook page. $13 million is a lot of money, and it's going to take a very, very well thought out plan to make sure that we not only promote but implement this opportunity. One of the things that's important here is that the money's not going to be coming to the county. Mm-hmm. It's not. There's an emergency rental assistance program committee, advisory committee. Mm-hmm. That's the title they gave it, in which Imperial County, through Ms. Esperanza Colio, is going to have a seat at this committee. What we need to do at the local level is partner and bring the nonprofits to the table, because the nonprofit groups are literally going to be the ones that are going to help us use as much money as possible. Hopefully all of it, right? There are certain criteria that has to be met. I've reviewed the criteria, and basically a lot of it, from what I can tell you, at least from the demographics here in my city, people are going to be eligible. Okay. On top of that, this dates back to when the pandemic declaration for COVID-19 was made. So technically, it goes back to almost 1 year up to this month. So with that in mind, we need to make sure that we partner, that we step up and assist the county through the network of local nonprofits here, because $13 million to provide rent relief to Calexicans is going to be a blessing in the sky.
It is.
And we need to make the most out of it. Like I said, today I had a conversation with Ms. Esperanza Colio. She's going to be giving a presentation tonight at another city here in Imperial County. I extended an invitation so she can come to our next regular scheduled meeting, which is going to be April 7th, so she can give us the details of the program and the scope of work that she has in mind to implement this campaign to benefit our residents. So just make a note of that. She will be coming in and providing us further information. So kudos, because it's very good news for us. As it pertains to COVID, there are a couple of things related that are going to happen here in the city of Calexico. We continue to have the minibus, as it's now called, go through different 2 points here in Calexico, one on the east side, one on the west side. We want to make sure that we capture both sides of our city that are divided by the railroad tracks, so people can actually get tested. My staff, Gabby as the city clerk, and Norma on the recreation side, they've been doing a good job to make sure to upload to our city website and also to our city Facebook page the schedule of the testing. Also, I want to acknowledge our Public Works Manager, Ms. Liliana Falomir, for making use of the CMS boards You probably have seen them at different points around town. We are providing information as to where the testing locations are, so we can all keep informed of these opportunities. I had a conversation, Dr. Vo reached out to my office. He made a request as it pertained to once again being able to use the movie theater parking lot for another mass vaccination clinic. I am happy to say that the legal counsel for the movie theater company accepted once again our request. So there's going to be a mass vaccination clinic Saturday, March 20th from 9 to 4. So just be on the lookout for that. As it pertains to us moving up to the red tier as a county, we've been getting information from our public health department at the county through its director, Ms. Janet Angulo. Mayor, members of the council, as I was sitting here, we received the weekly invitation from County CEO Rojodas for our weekly call. So we're going to be having that this week as well. At the same time, as part of these calls, Ms. Angulo gives us an update not only on the providers that are eligible to give the vaccine, but the additional doses that we've seen grow in recent weeks. At one point, it doubled, which is good. We went from an average of 4,000 to 8,000, which significantly is going to help our chances of being able to inoculate the phase 1B tier now. That means now that anybody that has an existing precondition or health condition between the ages of 16 and 64 can now get inoculated, which is fantastic news for us.
It is.
On that note, I also want to say that we're waiting for additional guidance that's going to come down from the state through our local public health department as it pertains to specific gatherings that are part of the red tier. Some of our restaurants have now began to have some in-house dining, which is now allowed under the red tier. However, there's still additional guidance that will be coming down through the state, through our county, to us. I anticipate some of those details to be shared with us when we have this call this week. Along the lines I referenced the movie theater, I'm happy to share that the Calexico movie theater will open on March 26th.
Oh, great.
March 26th, the Calexico movie theater will open once again with obviously the restrictions that we have on the red tier, but it's going to open up. They didn't open up sooner because they're doing actually some tentative improvements inside right now. So even though they would have wanted to open like other theaters in the county did, they even want to improve the experience of those that are able to go again. They're doing some improvements in-house right now, which is good to know. On another note that I wanted to share with you is I was very happy to get the notice by the Imperial County Social Services Department that the travel trailer item will be heard by the Imperial County Board of Supervisors on March 23rd.
Oh, great.
On March 23rd. So let's do some quick planning here. What that means is, as soon as that happens, I'm going to be bringing that item on April 7th, which is going to be our first meeting in April. Once we're able to adopt it here also at the city level, we will be ready to move forward with our plan of action. We have identified in past city council meetings, on top of the original scope that we have for the use of these trailers, some of the needs that we can help some at-risk populations here in Calexico. So I know it's been long overdue, but it's finally here. We've done it the wrong way. We want to make sure that all the entities, the nonprofits that we as a city are going to be partnering with, that they're protected with a very comprehensive and clear agreement between us and them. So that's also coming up, which is something that we've been expecting for a while. Madam Mayor, those were the five items that I wanted to share with you folks today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, or comment, Miguel. On the rental assistance, I did get that email, I think it was late yesterday.
Yeah.
And that, so it's through a website, from what I saw, that, you have to go through the, website. So somehow, if we can just put it out there, maybe, I don't know, I'm pretty sure that Ms. Cole is preparing some sort of tutorial.
Yes, exactly.
right? So if we can just put it as soon as possible, maybe even if she's already discussing that, even before we have our presentation, I'm pretty sure you're gonna upload it, and yeah, most definitely that's a great help. $13 million will take us a long ways, even though that's for the entire county. But the more that we facilitate, this process, the more that we make it easier. Probably just point and click and fill in the blanks. Hopefully, that people can get that help. So, as much as you can do and what you're provided, if you can share it, and I know you do. You're very good at the staff and whoever is doing that website updating. It's always on top. So, just let's keep an eye on that and
Absolutely, you can count on that,
it.
yes. And two quick things that are very important as well that I need to remind our community and all of us. The My Turn application is up and running here in Imperial County. We encourage everybody to sign up at myturn.ca.gov so we can expedite the inoculation process for our residents. Second thing that I want to point out, given that we are a region and we want to help out each other, regardless of our city boundaries, El Centro Regional Medical Center has expressed interest in also providing some type of support to our residents here in Calexico. As we know, they have their clinic here, but they've expressed interest in terms of collaborating with us in planning additional vaccination clinics. So just hold off on that, more to come, but I did want to acknowledge that everybody's stepping up. El Centro Regional Medical Center is also looking to support the Calexico community.
Following what Camilo was saying about the access to the application for the rental assistance, which is key because a lot of the people that are falling behind on rent are senior citizens. Yes. Not just 65, but we're talking about 75, 80-year-old residents falling behind on rent. Just what I learned from the vaccination access to the application is we need a non-digital option. We need a non-digital option, we need a phone option, and we need a Spanish option for all of those. We need to communicate to the county. People are not going to register if it's all online. There has to be a phone, there has to be a written option, and there has to be a Spanish option.
All that feedback is welcome, Councilman Ureña, and that is why I feel it's going to be imperative, aside from the updates that we get from tomorrow to April 7th, that Ms. Colio Warren, who has a substantial amount of experience putting together these types of programs, can consider these elements.
Yes.
So that's a point we'll take.
Thank you. Okay. Any more questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Figueroa.
No, you can continue.
Okay.
I know I'm next, so. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, moving on to consent agenda 6, 7, 8, and 9. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve items 6, 7, and 8.
Second.
9? You forgot 9?
9. Is it
Not 9, no. I have a different vote on that one. Just
also? So 6, 7, and 9. I mean 6,
6, 7,
7, and 8.
Okay, so
7 and 8? 6, 7, and 8.
and then
okay, let's go back. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda 6, 7, 8, and 9?
Madam Mayor, absolutely, that's a good point for clarification.
Correct.
A motion was made for the first three, which is 6, 7, and 8.
Okay,
I believe there was a sub-move by another council member. So at this point right now, you can call for the vote.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Ureña to approve 6, 7, and 8, seconded by Councilmember Romo. Councilmember Garcia?
No.
Councilmember Romo?
Yes.
Councilmember Ureña?
yes.
Councilmember Moreno?
No.
Mayor Rola Fernandez?
no. Okay, moving forward, again,
So I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items 6, 7, 8, and 9.
I would like to pull item.
So moved.
Excuse me. I would like to pull item number 9 from the consent agenda.
Mr. Ureña, we're in the voting process already.
Can you explain to her what that means, please?
We do have a motion second. A council member can request to.
I already seconded.
Correct. No, I'm saying somebody can make a request to pull an item, but we have a motion here, and it would have to be discretion, but we
Yeah,
have
I
to
already
take-
seconded.
Correct.
So,
I'm just
okay.
explaining the process, correct.
I
But,
do
yeah.
have public comments on that.
Just the council member does have the right to request one to be pulled, and that's what the council member did.
Madam Mayor, I do have 2 comments for item number 9.
I didn't hear what you said.
I have 2 public comments for item number 9
Sure.
that were carried over from March the 3rd. Joanna Espinosa, dear City Council, all I want to say is that y'all's job as a public official is to listen to the concerns and requests of the community that you vow to serve. By limiting the time of public comments, you are silencing the community. That is a direct offense on democracy and the First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of speech. I also understand that the limit is for particularly practicality or efficiency because a 5-hour meeting can be too much and you all just want to go home and rest. But here's a suggestion. Take a designated break time and then come back to listen. What do you gotta do? Clear your head. Go over the meeting guidelines to avoid stepping over boundaries. But why limit the voices of the people? Please consider this when making a motion for item number 6, which is now number 9. With respect, Joanna B. Espinosa. Ismael Arbizu, this comment is to those who don't have more than a 5-minute attention span. What is the main reason for this item? It is to silence the voice or rush your meetings. I bet being a public servant is tough work. You can resign if you want, if it's too much. Leave it to those that have the energy to put in the work to do it. This item is directly targeted at Raul Ureña because he is the only one who uses his time and effort to make comments and reports. Rosie, you couldn't report back when Raul asked about the meeting a month ago because you probably didn't have anything for it. We need a transparency like Javier Moreno would say during his campaign. Sí o no, Javier? Last meeting, Rosie's comment made me laugh. You take time away from our city manager and the city clerk, whether it's even a minute, end quote. This was about the COVID committee, the group that could help Calexico during the pandemic. Rosie doesn't care about the effect this has on our city. It's sad that you are still registered nurse when you already broke your oath. You didn't even want to give a minute to help your own community. If you care so much about the time, please help us and stop wasting ours. Resign, Rosie. Thank you, Ismael Arbizu.
That's all? Okay.
Yeah, just to clarify, we do have a motion on the second to the
Yes.
entire calendar. And a council member can make a request to pull an item separately from consent, and obviously, it would be up to the discretion of the council. But here, the council has moved forward.
I'm sorry, but I can't hear what you're saying, Miss. Could you, I can't
Yes,
hear what
we
you're
have a
saying.
first and a second to
Yes, we
approve
have a
the
first and a
entire
second.
consent. Just wanted to clarify that any council member can request
Oh,
an
yeah, they can make
item.
the comment. Sure.
Correct, and that's subject, so that was just the right the council member
Okay,
makes.
do
and
we
it's
have
up to the
comments?
discretion of the council.
I don't
whether
have
they want to hear
anything.
separately.
Mr. Ureña, you had a comment?
It's not about a comment. It's a request to pull it so we can vote on 9 separately. I'm not saying don't vote on 9. I just want to vote on 9 separately because I have a different vote for 9,
No.
6. Okay, go ahead.
Do you have a comment? No, I don't. You have a comment? No. Okay.
So the motion on the floor is,
So, okay, say your motion again. Just to clarify.
So I make a motion that we approve item number 9, which is the second reading adoption ordinance regarding city council member comments, report limits to 5 minutes each.
No, We have to go back.
We already have a,
For the consent agenda,
just clarify, we already have a motion in the first, on the floor to approve the entire consent.
The entire consent agenda.
Which
for the
is
entire consent
items,
agenda.
6, 7, 8, and 9. So there's already a motion, a second on there.
We already have a motion in place for the consent agenda. Okay, you first, I second it, now moving forward.
You second? Motion, second. Okay. Councilmember Ureña?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno?
Yes.
Councilmember Romo?
No.
Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Mayor Arreola Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2.
Okay. Okay, discussion and potential action items. Item 10, authorize the city manager to purchase one new variable frequency drive for the water treatment plant in the amount of $70,830 from Graybar under Omna Partners Public Sector, U.S. Communities Program Corporation Purchase Agreement. You have backup on that?
Absolutely. Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the community, this is an item that was brought forth by the Public Works Department. Currently, right now, we have one of the 5 variable frequency drives, which are part of the pumping distribution of water to the city of Calexico that has shown to be faulty. At this point right now, the request is being made as the 5 of you, when you had the opportunity to go and tour the water plant, our lead operators there were able to show you the process. And as we recall, we have a master center in which we control the water system in Calexico. What we have here is that one of those 5 drives has been faulty off and on for the past 3 years. At this point right now, we don't wish to compromise, obviously, the operation of the distribution of water in our city. Therefore, besides the fact that we have 4 VFDs functioning, we want to make sure that we have the whole system functioning properly. Therefore, we bring this item for your consideration. This is part of the capital improvement program that we've talked about a lot about today. So the funding will come out of that, which is specifically meant to be used for these types of repairs in our system.
Any
I have
questions?
motion to approve number 10.
Second?
Councilmember Romo?
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Councilmember Ureña?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno?
Aye.
Mayor Arreola Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Moving forward, 11, adopt budget amendment resolution for Department of Housing and Community Development Administration and Management Division, Grant 19-PGP-1387857.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So this is one of the other opportunities that we were able to secure for the city of Calexico. As we know, there are multiple needs that need to be addressed within our operation. But thankfully, as a result of the Senate Bill 2 program, we were entitled to $160,000. So at this point, the purpose of this item is to make sure that within our budget, we have a line item where we can expend the $160,000 for the use of these funds. Again, we already applied for these monies. The only thing we're asking for is the permission to include it in our budget so we can expend it. Let me remind the council and the members of the community that these funds from SB2 are going to allow us to do the much needed so we can all be compliant with what a municipal government should do every 5 years, which is update the general plan, update our housing element. And in this case, the add-on is going to be for us to improve the service in terms of how we process new housing production in Calexico. Meaning, aside from the affordable housing projects or any other type of housing project, for example, what we heard today from the Hollies, we are going to be adding on additional components that are going to improve our process here in-house. So in essence, $160,000 so we can expend it. We already have the purpose of the monies. And in a nutshell, it's part of the overall strategy that I have as a city manager with my staff to improve in-house processes. This goes hand in hand with a recent item that you folks approved, and that is our impact fee study that we need to do as a city. Everything falls along the same lines of the things that we need to update.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, any questions? Do we have a motion to approve it?
It's in the floor.
Councilmember
You need a
Urania?
motion?
Yes, to approve.
Who second?
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Councilmember Romo?
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno?
Aye.
Mayor Aurora Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, moving to item number 12, which is city council comments and reports of meetings attended. And I'll start from my left to right. Mrs. Romo, would you like to give your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I inform you that I have been authorized to adopt one of the parks in our city of Calexico.
Oh.
I thank the Parks Commission for their tours. The park that I have adopted is the International Border Park of Oteco Monroy. I consider that this park is very important for all those people who walk the international line. I will comment on the plan soon, and thanks again. And finally, I want to comment to the people of the public two questions. First of all, that I work online the meetings of this council in all my positions that I have had in Calexico. I have always done it that way. And secondly, my cell phone number is open to anyone who wants to communicate with me. Please look for it on the web. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It's everything for the moment.
Thank you, Mrs. Romo. Mr. Garcia?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Something that we haven't really discussed, and maybe city managers saving this for later, but I just yesterday I participated in a Zoom meeting that was put together by the League of California Cities, and it was in regards to the American Rescue Plan Act. Mm-hmm. Something that it will bring much needed assistance to cities and municipalities and counties, and that Calexico stands to get some of those monies, around the tune of $7.5 million. Again, guidelines and directions is still they're still coming out. It's very very soon to get those. They issue some of those. They also gave some examples as to some of the projects and some of the ways that this money can be used. So what I'm going to ask the city manager, and I know that he already has a lot on his plate, but I think this is something that we need to be on top of it. We need to be ready to make sure that as soon as we're able to access this funding, that we get it we put it to work in infrastructure and whatever ways it's going to be allowable to be spent, to be used. I think this will also be a great opportunity to partner with local entities, also local agencies, nonprofits. So please do keep an eye on this. Please keep us informed, and then also let's get this ready. Let's make sure that if we can have I know someone actually looking at this on a day-to-day happening, because this is something that needs to be put in our community. It's a way of investing. It's a way of creating opportunities for people. So and much needed. So that's on that. So the American Rescue Plan. This is also part. This is something unprecedented. This is also part of what people are seeing as payments of stimulus payments. So there's also money for the cities and counties. And another note, a couple of weeks ago, I had a chance to participate in a debate, a speech competition put together by the migrant program, throughout the county. Why do I bring this up? I bring this up because during this competition, you get a chance to see young, people. In my case, I had a chance and the privilege to judge, that speech of given by fourth graders, and that was so inspiring. That was just something that I could see myself going back in years, in those years, and just to listen to what they're going through, what they have gone through to COVID, as that was one of the topics that they cover, COVID and their challenges. And also, there was another one as to why do you love your parents? So it was just inspiring to listen to these young people, just to share, and the importance of setting a good example and being mentors to these young people, being guidance, being someone that can actually provide that road to a bright future. So I think we need to step back and look at ourselves, look at the way that we contribute to our community, because the new leaders are coming, and they're coming with a lot of tools now. They're coming with technology. They're coming with just a different way to look at our current situation that we're living in. So please, let's just take the time to mentor someone, to guide someone. I think that's so important. But most of all, I think the best way to mentor and to guide someone is to lead by example. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's my report.
Thank you. Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam. So I attended the Calexico Wellness Center vaccination drive they had at the Carmen Durazo Center there here in Calexico, and they had a total of 248 people vaccinated. Majority of them were farm workers. Also, I'd like to thank Mr. Ureña for his support. I know some of your associates were there also helping out as volunteer, and I thank you for that. I appreciate that. That comes from the CEO and the staff there. They were very helpful with that. It was a good event. It's a long event. It started at 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I believe Mr. Camilo Garcia was also there early in the morning. And so, having said that, in terms of the Farm Worker Center, we're still moving along with that. We have another meeting with stakeholders pretty soon. That's in the development stages right now. And I was approached by two young citizens here in Calexico. They live in Calexico, and they're producing a video, a 5-10 minute video in terms of what's going about farm worker life, and particularly of the long waiting lines they have to do and what they go through just to get over here and then get back home. That's being produced production stage right now. Hopefully we'll present that also someday. Also, I'd like to congratulate two persons here in our community. Dr. Vo for receiving the Stone Award, I believe.
MLK Stone Award.
MLK Stone Award, correct? Yeah, thank you. Kudos from Dr. Vo. If you're watching us, thank you for your community service. Really appreciate what you're doing for the community, and congratulations on your award. Also, Blanca Morales, the CEO for the Calexico Wellness Center, was also a recipient of the Molina Healthcare Community Champions Award, and also congratulations to Blanca Morales, if you're watching here tonight. That just says a lot that we do have in our community, people who really care about vaccinating people as we move forward with this pandemic. Hopefully one day we'll open up soon, and I really appreciate being part of this community. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Ureña?
Nothing to report at this time.
Excuse me?
Nothing to report at this
No,
time.
I didn't report. Okay, what I need to report, February 20 to 26. Mr. Moreno and I met with the Mexican consulate on a Tuesday and then on a Friday. We discussed border issues, mainly when the people are crossing the pedestrian side. He said how he's working with the Mexicans consulate and also with the customs and the authorities to make it easier for the people that are crossing. As well, we met. I had a telephone conference that was arranged by Supervisor Escobar with the Mexican consulate regarding opening more lanes going south. They're communicated to us that the reason that there was such a backup is that they don't have staffing. You know, they're right now in transition. They had a changing in government and customs. But he did promise that he was going to open one lane, two maybe, moving forward on Friday and Saturdays. Okay, I have weekly updates, reports with the health department on COVID-19. And like Mr. Figueroa mentioned, you know, they're giving us all the information so we could put in our website. March the 4th, I had a Zoom meeting with the CBP, and also we asked them to open, when were they going to open the East Port? And their response is they're working on it, they still don't have any dates, but they're taking all that back to the administration for us. I also listened to Dr. Edwards. He was giving out information on COVID provided to the California RTA. I attended 2 vaccination sites, which is Dr. Vo and the Wellness Health Center, and I want to thank them both for all the work they're doing in our community. Had a conference with Imperial Regional Detention Facility, Warren Sisto Mariano. He has projects that he wants to collaborate with the city, and we're going to be moving forward with that. I also listened to Ricardo Lara with Assembly Member Edward Garcia on updates on insurance cover changes. And that's all I have to report for now. Okay? So I guess this meeting is adjourned, and it is 8:36. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Future agenda,
Monday?
Madam Mayor, future agenda items?
Future agenda items.
I don't have anything.
Do we have any future agenda items?
Yeah, I have future agenda. Okay, thank you. Mr. Figueroa, could you make us a report on the reopen of the Calexico Chamber of Commerce, please? And Mrs. Falomir, give us a report on all the parks that can be adopted by the community and what are the requirements and obligations, and add this report on the status of all the city's park, please. I want to present the plans and possible financial to build a place where all field workers and contractors will be able to arrive. And Mr. Figueroa, finally, it's very important the minutes published on the web, please. That's it. Thank you, Madam.
I will second her
Thank you.
request.
Mr. Ureña, did you have something?
Oh, no, I'm just saying, I'm seconding her request.
Mr. Moreno?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now I could close the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You all have a good evening.